Hello and welcome to the Bourbon Bear After Dark. So we will be getting into some spicy topics regarding the Bears. Now officially 1-1. Unfortunately, a loss to the Houston Texans last week. And Fred, I want your immediate reactions or takeaways from the let's open with the first 2 weeks about how the Bears have looked.
You can't run the ball, you can't win. You become one-dimensional, and especially a team like the Bears with a brand new quarterback and an O-line that has a lot of continuity. I mean, they returned 4 starters from last year, and the fact that if you can't run the ball, teams are going to blitz you out the wazoo, especially with the rookie quarterback. So that's all that needs to be said the first 2 weeks.
And I think that's a fair statement. I do want to say, though, over the first 2 weeks, I think the defense is what we thought they would be. Secondaries look fantastic. You were going against a Houston defense with 3 great wide receivers. The Titans, I mean, outside of 1 touchdown pass, you held them in check. The run defense, which everyone was a little skeptical about, with Dexter playing our 3-tech, seeing what was going on, has looked good.
I mean, the unheralded star of the defense is Billings.
I agree.
That guy
uses up
so much space, and he never gets the recognition or shine because it's the other guy making the play because of him. And he's been just what a find by polls last year, and the way he's been playing this year. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, though. The defense has been spot on. Like, they have been so good to start this year, and it's been carrying over from last year. So,
and I owe you an apology. I said I didn't hate the Kevin Byard signing, but I wanted Geno Stone. Byard had that great recovery at the end of the Houston game. Looks like he's been playing out pretty well with the secondary, too. I was afraid how they'd mesh, but overall I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think he adds a really good veteran presence next to Brisker, who's now, he is a veteran. He's been in the league for 3 years, but it feels much longer than that. And I think they complement each other so well, and both of them are never afraid to hit someone.
And Brisker has been in the tackle total. I think week 1 it was close to 15 tackles he had, and I love to see that the young guy. I know he's been in the league 3 years, but I still consider him a young guy just because that's when the franchise finally started turning around. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we have to comment on the elephant in the room right now, and you mentioned the run game, but the offensive line is where I want to start with. It just looked like terrible. Yeah. I mean, there was one play, and I have a lot of faith in Darnell Wright, but there was one play that everyone keeps pointing out where he clearly just woof. And then it got Caleb wrecked.
Yeah.
What do you think the expectations are? You played 2 good defensive fronts in their defense.
Yeah.
You played the Titans, who actually might low-key have one of the best defensive lines in football. Texans, 2 great edge rushers. Do you think this trend continues?
I sure hope not. I mean, I don't think it does. I think that they will start to figure it out. And, the game of football is all about making adjustments and who's going to continue to evolve and adapt and just, play to your strengths. And, the optimist in me is the Bears are going to figure it out, and they're going to start to be able to run the ball. But what makes it really difficult is when you don't go under center and you're already starting 5 yards back, you're giving them those ends the opportunity just to run up as fast as they can, opposed to when you're under center, it changes the mindset of everyone on the defensive side of the ball.
And that leads into what you just said, adjustments. The defense has clearly made adjustments the second half, been great. I think their second half defense has been fantastic. Offensive, no adjustments. Same pain points that every friggin' Bears fan has. You can't run the ball. Quarterback doesn't have enough time, and it's a blame game. Yeah. Everyone blames different aspect of the game, but I think it does start with the offensive line. But realistically, I thought they would be coming in a lot hotter than they were.
Yeah.
You mentioned continuity. It's like, what happened?
It is really. Here's the thing. Everyone walked away when looking at the schedule within the first 2 weeks of the Bears season, saying if they walk away 1-1, that's awesome. And that's exactly where we are right now. It's in the way that they have performed on the field. Is people had higher expectations, but at the same time, it's like you have a rookie quarterback. You need to be patient with the process, but what you should need to be patient on is being able to run the ball. Like that is like a really big concern, considering the guys that they did bring back were all part of this unit last year outside the center, who is not looking very good at the moment.
Yeah. I mean,
my God. That is where the game is won, because then it's going to make Caleb's life easier when teams can respect what you have to do, and you're not getting in 3rd and longs.
Before we even get into Caleb, I just want to talk about the fact that a lot of blame has been going around about Poles not addressing that offensive line. Coming into the year, I thought it was a solid unit. Clearly, Nate Davis specifically has just looked absolutely awful. It's not that easy to adjust mid-season, especially with training camp, all that in the past. You can't really just go and buy a lineman right now. Yeah. So what do you think they can do to fix these problems?
I mean, you have to keep rolling with the guys that you have, and there's a reason why Nate Davis is still playing over their 3rd-round rookie. But at the same time, like, that guy missed all of training camp, the 3rd-round rookie. I can't say his name, but You have to let that guy get reps in practice and get up to the NFL speed. And then if Nate Davis keeps playing the way that he is, then you have to give the other guy a shot because you can't get much worse than what he has shown.
I don't think that's the problem, though, because, again, we're dealt the cards we have, but I think it's more offense has to adjust to different play calling. To your point, we're always in the shotgun. We're not running our 2 tight end sets, which I thought we'd be doing a lot more of, but you need to get that extra protection out there, or else this guy's going to just get killed out there.
Yeah.
And it's Shane Waldron, my God. Looked great in the preseason, don't get me wrong, but we're having basically the Bears offense 2.0 when we had Fields. Yeah. And I'm not panicking on Caleb. I do not mean to say that by any means. I went from I would say a 1 to a 2 just because of the fact that I think on the year he's got under 300 passing yards through 2 games. I had him having over 4,000 in my bet, so I'm a little nervous on that front.
Anything's possible.
But I think it's more, Shane Waldron just has to sit down and figure out a good game plan, and I just don't know if he can do that. Is he flustered, or what's going on with him?
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to football's game of adjustments, and so far, you've seen it with the defensive side of the ball where they shut down Stroud in that second half. And at every game, it's so abnormal for us to see this because we're used to, Matt Nagy being the head coach where there'd be literally 0 adjustments ever made in the second half. Where Eberflus, at least on the defensive side of the ball, you see that going into effect. It is frustrating, but it is only 2 weeks into the season so far, and so we have to hope that Waldron is the guy that we all assume he is. They just need more time to continue to develop himself.
And that's the one thing I want to highlight is that it's not time to panic. Everyone probably had them losing that game. Yeah. So we're 1-1 where we should be. I think everyone who predicted the record would say 1-1 is fine at this point right now. You've got 3 games coming up, though, that are very winnable games.
Yes.
The Colts just lost to the Packers with a backup quarterback. Need to win that game. There's no question in my mind about that. Then you have the Rams.
I also think Anthony Richardson is a fraud.
Ooh, so that's hot take. I wouldn't say he's a fraud yet, but must-win game. I think the
Bourbon
defense.
Bear after dark, we're risque here.
There we go. But then you have the Rams, who are probably the most injured team in the NFL right now. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out. As long as the run defense holds, that's got to be a win. And then you have the Carolina Panthers, which I'm actually happy they're not playing them right after they got rid of Bryce Young. Maybe Andy Dalton goes hot the first game, but then they'll have tape on him. But what do you think they go the next 3 games?
I mean, you almost have to go 3-0. I don't want to put pressure on it, but you need to win all 3 of those games because all 3 of those teams are not good.
Nope.
And with how the Rams are playing right now, who they're missing on offense, who they're missing on defense, there really is no excuse to lose that.
And the Bears, I feel have the Rams number. I know we lost to them, I think, in 2019. We were at that game in the Coliseum when they lost to them. That was the Nagy years. Oh, God. But defensively, I think they have their number. I'm not worried about that game now. I think that's going to be a win.
Yeah.
But this Colts game is going to basically divide the city if they lose.
Yes.
So what do you think the keys to victory are to shutting down Anthony Richardson and beating this Colts team?
I mean, keep him in the pocket, make him throw the ball, and then they have one of the worst rush defenses, and Buckner's out.
That was huge. Injured reserve, yep.
That's where you need to. It's literally in the trenches. Is where the game is going to be won.
So. Again, with Buckner being out, though, this offensive line, we just talked about it, about how inconsistent they've been, about what Shane Waldron needs to do. What do you predict them? I'm going to go Bourbon Bear after dark, so you got to give me a take here.
Yeah.
How many sacks do they give up against that Colts defense that is pretty banged up?
I mean, I would hope no more than 2. I think 2 or more, or 2 or 1 would almost be too much because your offensive line through the first 2 weeks has to see how bad they're playing and make these adjustments that are needed against a really piss-poor defensive line.
True.
So I would say, what I would not be surprised is if they came out and ran the ball 25-plus times.
The Bears?
The Bears.
Ooh, that's a good take.
Because I think that they're going to want to get Swift going, and they're going to want to get some of these other running backs going, too. They have not had the opportunity because every time they run the ball, it's 1 yard loss, 2 yards loss.
And that's been a topic of conversation across the city is the fact that maybe Khalil Herbert should be more involved with the rushing game because mainly his role, he's not a starting running back, but he's a great backup running back.
He's a good change of pace guy.
Do you think he gets a lot more carries than we've seen in the past? He did have that 1 touchdown against the Houston Texans. I think we might see a split carry scenario between him and Swift at this point. With Swift, what was it? Have the numbers written down. 14 carries for 18 yards.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
So, I think they're going to get him more involved, but I also don't when you actually look at I read an article on Athletic, so I had not watched all 22. But when you look at the snippets, like he literally gets the ball swift and there's nowhere to go. What I would love to see is Herbert to get more involved, but also Roschon be that number 3 guy. Like him come in on third down. Don't give me Travis Homer. Give me Roschon Johnson, and let's get him in the flow.
That was my next point. It's a controversial across the NFL, but Roschon Johnson clearly was punched in the face in the middle of that Houston Texans game. They made the call right away that it could not be reviewed by New York. It was a off-the-field play, which has to be a ref's judgment call. I don't think that would have solidified a Bears win by any means, but that still would have been a nice 15-yard penalty where it would have had a drive going.
And that guy's gone. He's kicked out of the game.
I think so too, and he's one of their best players. Like that would have been a huge changing moment. Does that rule need to be reviewed?
I think it should be. Like, why you review everything else? Why would you not go back and when it's something where play is done and someone does something as stupid as that? Like, why would you not review it?
Well, and that's what gets me mad because remember, Cole Kmet was the Saints-Bears playoff game, threw the ball to the ref, and he got a 15-yard penalty on a complete accident. Like literally, it wasn't even he was trying to do anything malicious, but.
Was that
gets flagged and that doesn't? That makes no sense to me in the NFL.
Wait, was that the Javon Wims game?
Yeah, when he dropped it.
Was he on the team then? Cole Kmet was?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was that Cole's rookie year? No, it might have been Cole's rookie year.
That feels forever ago.
But still, that gets flagged and you can't review it. But that doesn't get flagged and you can't review it. I just don't understand the logic there. But ultimately, I think the Bears defense showed their just awesomeness. This is a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
3 great receivers, and Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. They shut them out the second half, and that doesn't typically happen. So what do you think, I mean, with the Colts, with Pittman, and I can't even know their number 2. I know he's Pierce, I think his name is.
Alec Pierce,
Alec Pierce. I don't think they have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I think the DBs eat those guys up. You keep Richardson in the pocket, and that's how you will absolutely own that game.
I agree with that, but what do you think they do from a defensive front? Obviously, they've been able to bring the blitz pretty effectively, and especially in the Titans game. I think you have to utilize that because you cannot let him beat you with his legs.
100%.
That's my biggest concern.
And that's how they've been so successful by bringing that linebacker each time, whether it's Edmonds, whether it's TJ Edwards, or it's Sanborn. That's where Eberflus is a genius when it comes to that stuff. But also when we saw it against the Titans, where Taylor was starting to pop off a little bit, and I'm waiting for is Montez Sweat because he hasn't been quiet because he's probably getting double teamed every single play, so he's opening up opportunities for guys like Dexter who we're seeing make some plays. So I'm excited to keep watching that D-line because I think we're gonna keep being impressed with them.
Yeah, I love the move Poles made to get the guy from Seattle, Darrell Taylor.
Yeah.
Do you think we see more Austin Booker this game or no?
Yeah, he's kind of been quiet.
Nothing. It was all hard knock hype story. I'm shocked. Nothing.
Yeah. I think as the season goes on, we are going to have to start to see him more and more. I do.
I agree because literally, I mean, that kid has a lot of potential. Maybe they have him in the wings behind Sweat to say, hey, it's your rookie year, but NFL contracts are short.
Yeah.
They grow fast, and it's like, hey, I want to see something out of him if we have all this hype about him trading a 4th round to get a 5th round pick this year. But I think the Bears, this is my hot take of the day, the Bears will give up 10 points in that game.
Against the Colts?
Yes.
I mean, they shouldn't give up any more than that. After what you just saw the Colts do against the Packers, who do not have the defense that the Bears do, I think that you really need to kind of look yourself in the mirror and say, Anthony Richardson is, he's an athletic quarterback. He's just not at the next step that you need to be successful every week in the NFL.
That's a fair take, but, I mean, Bourbon Bear late night. How many points does the offense score, according to Nick Frett, in the record year?
The offense alone?
Yes.
The Bears?
Not defensive touchdowns, not special teams, offense only.
I'm going to go with 24.
Ooh, okay.
And that's because I think they're going to run the ball and they're going to be successful and they're going to open up opportunities for Caleb to do some play action, do some quick game, maybe some deep balls. But no, I think 24 sounds right to me.
So, especially if we're going to emphasize the rush, which I do agree we should do, Green Bay killed them with the rush. I mean, that game was over. I think I'm trying to remember the timestamp, but their game was over when the Raiders game was literally in the 3rd quarter, which is insane. That means the whole game was rushing.
Yeah.
How many yards does Caleb throw for then?
I'm going to say 200.
200. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What I would take as a win from the offense if Caleb has no turnovers and 200 yards. I gotta talk about the touchdowns though. So he had 2 drop touchdowns over the past 2 games. Yep. You had the Keenan Allen in the end zone. You had the Roma Dunze in the end zone. That is such a confidence booster if they catch those balls, and I feel bad because literally a lot more scrutiny would be off of him.
Oh yeah.
What do you think he puts up though in terms of touchdowns this game? If you're going to be running the ball too, so you got to think about that.
I mean, I think he gets at least one.
One.
I think he gets at least one. He gets his first one.
He needs it though. He needs it.
He absolutely needs it. I mean, when you're a guy like that who's unproven in the league, has done everything and everywhere that you have been, you need that to help your confidence go in. That guy, I mean, Caleb, we all know, is one of the most confident guys out there. But you need that stuff as a stepping stone to keep progressing in your career.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like get the pressure off of him. Yeah. Like stop thinking you have to be a hero. Like just get the touchdown.
Right.
Get in the back of your mirror. That's fine. I mean, God, Washington, their rookie quarterback won the game on 6 field goals. Mm-hmm. Or was it 7? I don't even remember. It was close to that, but no touchdowns thrown, which is insanity.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Caleb week 1 didn't win them the game. That was the defense, special teams. Like, I can't defend anything else there.
Yeah.
But getting him off of that, just like pressure of getting a touchdown. Rome can't drop that ball against the Texans. That sucks. Yeah. And Keenan Allen again in the week 1 against Tennessee. You gotta catch the ball.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like the point, though, where we have a good offense. We just don't know what the line's going to do. Do you think Caleb wins us this game? So not the running game, but Caleb wins us this game.
No. So I think that the Bears win 24-10.
So you think it's all going to be rushing then? Well, go with Caleb's touchdown, which you thought.
Well, I mean, I think, listen, if you run the ball 25 times and you put up 100-plus yards, let's just say it's 100 yards, you're getting what is that, 5 yards a carry almost?
That'd be great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would take that in a heartbeat.
It may be just less if my math is correct. It might not be, but I think that is, and then you open up the door for Caleb to throw for 200, and
I would take it.
3 touchdowns doesn't seem out of the realm, although we haven't seen one from Caleb yet.
So what kind of bothered me about the Texans game? I'm sorry, is the fact that. Granted, the pocket was collapsing religiously.
Yeah.
He can run, though.
Yeah.
And it's almost the opposite of Fields, where he doesn't want to run. He wants to be a pocket passer, which I want, which is good. But there are opportunities where he can run, though, and he just didn't do it. Does that concern you at all? Because I know he can run. I've seen him do, breakout run plays, watch his tape at USA. I just don't know if they're telling him do not run at any cost, be a pocket passer, or if they're just,
No, I mean, I just think that is his play style, where he would prefer to extend the play to find someone to throw to than run for 5 to 10 yards. And I'm all for that, because that's when defenses break down and you can find a big pass play to someone. And Caleb has the arm strength and the accuracy to typically do it. Against the Texans, yes, he threw two picks, one when he was on the run, but you need to kind of make those plays so you can start to continue to understand how fast the NFL is and how freak athletes these guys are.
So that's also what gets me concerned, though, because he made one great escape. I think it was the jersey rip, if you remember that play in particular. Made a bad play, it's fine. But the receivers also have to be open.
Yeah.
And if you were extending the play by that long, Rome or DJ should be available.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. Do you think it's a vision issue, or do you think it's just what it is?
I think it's a mixture of he kind of doesn't trust his offensive line. He's still adapting to the speed of the play. And listen, I feel like DeAndre Carter got way too many targets against the Texans.
That was wild. I would never peg that.
But I just think that he's still trying to get the feel of everything. It's been 2 weeks. Teams are understanding that they need to blitz the hell out of them. It's not preseason where teams are now scouting against you. Where preseason, it's all base defense. It's easier for these guys to be able to make plays. So, not jumping ship whatsoever. What I will say, because this is Bourbon Bear After Dark.
Yep.
Would you trade the Panthers' second-round pick for Sean McVay?
No. What? In the middle of the season?
No. I'm saying for him to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Maybe in the offseason I'd consider it, but right now there'd be no point.
This was a pivot. I'm not saying during the middle of the season. I'm saying at the end of the season, would you trade that and another pick for Sean McVay to coach the Bears and be with Caleb Williams?
That brings up a good point, though, because literally Harbaugh was available, and that was kind of a no-brainer to a lot of people that guy could lead this team. What he's doing with the Chargers right now is fantastic. Eberflus, I get it. He turned it around the second half. The defense looks great, and I will not put a lot of the blame on him because he is clearly only involved with the defense. But why didn't you just hire Harbaugh? I'm not giving up basically a first-round pick for a coach. No. That's dumb to me.
So you would not trade which will essentially be
33rd pick in the NFL draft. If
in the offseason, would you trade that for Sean McVay?
That's a lot of capital to give up. What did the Saints give up, or they got, I guess, from Denver when they did
for Sean Payton?
Yeah. Was it a first rounder?
I mean, but I would say that's different though, because like Sean Payton was kind of out of the game for a little bit.
Yeah, but it was still a first round pick though. Like that's insane.
But so you would not do that for Sean McVay?
No, because literally all of our capital should go to linemen, and I want good linemen. I'm done with this plug and play at center. We should have got Powers Johnson. It made too much sense. I don't understand why we didn't do it. Everything we have needs to go to linemen, and I want to keep all the capital I have.
So all right, moving on from Sean McVay, since that would never happen. Would you, if you go back in time, would you trade the Odunze pick to be able to move back to draft an offensive lineman and then get more picks in the second round?
Well, it's a hindsight argument. And Rome, I mean, he looks good. Obviously, he came back from an injury. I respected him for doing that. That's awesome. Good for him. I think he's going to have a bright future.
Yeah.
I don't think it's early enough to say we should have traded back for linemen, but you're looking at the line right now. And this is all hindsight, obviously. But if you had a plug-and-play center that could actually block, probably would have been better than having him and having Keenan Allen and DJ Moore on the outside. But we are where we are. You can't look back and say, hey, we should have drafted someone else. But I won't go that far to say we shouldn't have drafted Rome. I think he's going to, again, have a good future. Won't discredit that pick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
So, what do you think, though, going forward? We've talked about how many sacks you think they'll give up. Caleb's, game against the Colts. 3 games coming up that have to be wins. What do you think now, looking at this offense, is going to be our final statistics when it comes to the year? Caleb Williams, I don't think he's going to throw for 4,000 yards anymore. You're 2 games in. You're almost at 300. That's not even close to enough.
Yeah.
What do you think, rushing and passing-wise, this team lines up at the end?
I mean, I would hope passing-wise they're at least between 32 to 35. I would hope that is like a target. That should be very easy to get to. As a NFL franchise that has a quarterback out there, you should be able to hit that mark.
Yep.
Running the ball wise, rushing, I would say, I would hope we're at least getting 1,200 to 14. Because what that's assuming for is between Herbert and Swift, and who knows if Roschon actually end up playing, but they have alone by 1,000 to 1,100, and then Caleb maybe has 300, which I don't think is crazy.
I think that's fair. Caleb, I think, will step up in the pocket a little bit more and get more yards. But that turns to the fact that you have J.K. Dobbins, Chargers running back, already at close to 300 yards. The Bears needs, to your point about Swift, to have at least someone clearing 1,000 yards for rushing.
Yeah.
Caleb, 300, that's fine by me. That's whenever you need to rush, go for it.
Yeah.
Don't know if he's actually going to get 300, but Swift has to have at least 1,000 yards rushing. And we're 2 games in and we're not even close. That's bad.
I don't know if he needs to necessarily have 1,000. Now, if the carry disparity is still the way it is, where it is mainly him getting the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. But if they start now bringing Herbert to get more touches, then technically, you can live with him getting 800, Herbert getting 400, but it doesn't seem like that's how they're progressing right now.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's got to be, I guess, overall rushing needs to be in the thousands. If you can't do that, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, run blocking should be these where you are attacking the guy rather than you're stepping back waiting for someone to attack you. So you need, in order to be successful, and you look at all of the teams right now that are good, they can all run the ball. The Bills, look at Josh Allen's stats. He has not done a whole lot so far.
No, it should have been Cook. It's been Cook. Yep.
The Chargers, another example where obviously that's Harbaugh's MO, but they run the fuck out of the ball. You have these teams that they prioritize running the ball. I mean, Shanahan, another one, the 49ers, where that Mason guy, I mean, Shanahan's crazy how he just picks guys from thin air to be running backs. But I mean, Saints, another one where they primarily have run the ball. Look at Derek Carr's numbers; like they're nothing crazy, and it's passing. The passing as a whole in the NFL has been so down because these defenses now are adjusting.
There was one, I guess it was a meme, I don't even know what it was, but there were only 2 300-yard passers over like the past 2 weeks, which is insane.
That is insane.
When we grew up, literally it was every you had 5 a week almost.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know what's going on there. But turning the attention to the NFC North, so you have the Vikings at 2-0, big victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Bondo called it. We got Bondo's bets. You know, the camera can see, but he did call it. I don't fear the Vikings super much. I don't want to say super much, but like, hey, they're the Vikings. Like, they have a backup quarterback. Sam Darnold looks good, though.
Yeah.
And that's a little concerning because I was banging that as 2 free wins. The Lions lose to the Bucks. Did not peg that at all. I thought the Lions would kill them. So you're sitting with Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit, 1-1. Minnesota at 2-0. Where do you think this all comes to?
Listen, I think Minnesota going 2-0 in the first 2 weeks, no one would have pegged.
No,
not in the slightest.
shot.
Like, it's awesome to see because what that shows though is just another team in the NFC North to help plus up the power of that division. I'm sorry. What I will say is, can they keep it up for a full season? Where it all looks good right now, but Ryan Flores has that defense blitzing like no other, and they are playing out of their ass. But I think ultimately, there's going to have to be a bad team in the division, and I think that they won't be able to sustain a full season.
Well, what I want to say, though, is that game that the Minnesota Vikings beat the San Francisco 49ers, they have a blueprint of how to beat them. Because mainly, I mean, Justin Jefferson obviously had that
97.
touchdown. Insanity. He's so good. Got hurt in the middle of the game, though, and they still won the game.
Yeah.
You need to use that blueprint to beat Brock Purdy and keep that. I mean, their defense still played actually pretty well compared to the turnovers that Brock did. That's the blueprint you have in week, I think it's 11 or 12 when you play the 49ers. Use that like you did against the Rams back when we were elite, Khalil Mack era, in 2018. Keep that in the back of your mind, though, if you're goddamn planning for the game. Like, we need to have that on film. Because I agree with you. I think the Vikings are a flash in the pan right now. Yeah. Sam Darnold looks good, but I don't think he can sustain it.
It's a great story. To see a guy like him go 2-0 the first 2 weeks, beat his old team, and like it's awesome to see.
But it comes down to, we play the NFC North, I think it's week 10 is our first game.
Yeah.
So you've got 6 games against the NFC North over the course of the end. Get as much tape as you can, and hope the Packers lose. God, I hate that they beat the Colts, but it is what it is.
With Malik Willis too, like that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, like absolutely unbelievable.
The fact that guy is still in the NFL, it seemed like he was going to be out, and good for him. Like what a win for them. Like,
my God, of course.
I mean, that's just one of those games where everyone expects them to lose, and of course they pull one out of their ass.
Are you a closet Packers fan?
I'm not a closet Packers fan. I know it's a Bourbon Bear After Dark and we get a little risque, but I'm not a closet Packers fan.
So, based on what's going on right now, though, based on the standings we have, what do you think the division finalizes in terms of who makes the playoffs or overall records for every team? And we're after dark, so we can make bold claims. We can do. Because I have my takes on this, but you go first.
I mean, I still think the Lions will win the division. I think the Packers and Bears will get wild card spots, and the Vikings will ultimately fizzle out. So, I mean, if you want actual record predictions, I would say, which I said on our first Bourbon Bear, Bears 10-7. I would say Packers 11-6. And Lions 12-5, and then Vikings 6-11.
So that's what changed in my opinion, though, because the Vikings are already 2-0. They beat a great team.
Yeah.
I think they're actually going to be in the fight for this. So what I will say, I'm staying with the Bears at 10-7. I won't change that based on what we have, especially with, I think, 3 wins coming up, which is huge. I think the Vikings and the Packers are both going to wind up in a bloodbath of even. So I think they're going to go 9-7, 9-7. I think Detroit still wins the division.
9-7. You mean 9-8?
9-8. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
9-8. 9-8. I think they're going to be at this point relegated to missing the playoffs at this point. I don't think the Packers will make the playoffs now. And it's nothing against Jordan Love, but he's hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, you played the Colts. I think the Bears will destroy. I think now they're done. I think if 4 weeks without Jordan Love, it's going to be too much.
Yeah.
But I think the Vikings, who I had pegged at like 6-11, they make that move and get 3 more wins, so 9-8. But Detroit, I still think, wins the division.
So I think I saw something on Twitter today. Twitter never lies. That Jordan Love is back. That he's going to play this weekend, which would be
I would not rush
crazy
him, no.
because like you could fuck your knee up so much more.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I don't think that's smart for them.
But you know what I think of when you say like the Vikings are already like 2-0, like they could easily get 9 more wins, or not 9 more. They could easily get to 9 wins. Remember when the Bears a few years ago were 5-0, and then they lost like 6 in a row, and they barely climbed.
That was the same as the Cole penalty. Right? That was the same thing. Yep.
God, that year was terrible.
It was not fun.
That was terrible. That was the Nick Foles throwing to Anthony.
That's when Tom Brady had his he thought it was 4th down. Remember?
Yeah.
And it was my God. Throw back to Nelson there. Oh my God, I love it.
Nelson.
But that's all the time we have for the Bourbon Bear. We'll end on one comment though. So Nick Frett, official score prediction. Sounds like it's 24-10, but confirm it.
24-10. How about you, Bourbon Bear?
I'll buy those bets tomorrow, but I'll I'll gird my loins here. I'm gonna go 27-10.
All right, and then before we shut down, because it's Bourbon Bear After Dark, who is your Bourbon Bear After Dark player of the week to watch for?
I think it's going to be Javon Dexter. I think he's going to be the guy that clogs that lane. I know Billings obviously does his run defense, but I think after his sack last week, he's going to contain Anthony Richardson. That's my player of the game. How about you?
I think Swift is going to break out. And I think that's all tied to them being committed to the run, but I think we're going to see some impressive plays from him, whether that's receiving or running the ball. So I'm excited.
I like that. And that's all the time we have. Bear down, guys. Go Bears.
Bears.